We're talking about Northland to meet Pastor Sam Turner and discover how God is working through the Paparoa Community Church. So, firstly, welcome to the show, Sam. It's lovely to have you here.
Hi, thanks for having us.
So let's talk about Paparoa firstly. Where are you in Northland? Which part of Northland is Paparoa based?
Little Paparoa. So as you're coming up the main highway, if you were to turn up towards Dargaville, so you're heading north towards Whangarei, turn up towards Dargaville, and you'd have to go through Mangatoroto and then through Paparoa.
Nice. Okay, then I'm pretty sure I've been through Paparoa then. I'm pretty sure I've been your way. So tell us about this little part of heaven, little part of heaven on earth here in New Zealand, because it is such a beautiful part of the country. What's it like to be in Paparoa? What is the community doing?
It's a beautiful spot. It's a country town. It's village really. Yeah, tiny population. I mean, a lot of people would say, "Where is Paparoa?" But God seems to be seeing fit to put Paparoa on the map and be doing big things here. So we're excited to be here. It's an awesome community, absolutely awesome community, and there's a real opportunity here to just be real with people.
Salt and light, right? So let's talk about this because, yeah, I'm intrigued. What's going on in the community? What can we get excited about here as the body of Christ?
Well, one of the biggest things that I believe God is doing here is what we're calling DMM, a disciple making movement. I believe this is a bit of a new wineskin that God is bringing into His body, and it's one that is really causing ripples that are turning into waves from this little town of Paparoa.
Okay, so what does discipleship making look like? Because you're calling it a movement. Yeah, and I think for a lot of us, we go, yeah, discipleship. Of course, we should be doing this as Christians. But I think what it actually looks like in day-to-day practice, I think we need to talk about it a bit more. So, what does it look like for Paparoa?
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad you asked that because a lot of people say, what is DMM? What is DMM? And I honestly believe it's God's answers. It's God's answers for the social change that we need in New Zealand. We've heard about all the horrendous statistics around this country. It's the answer to that social change, to the division. I believe it's God's answer, and it's actually an old answer that He gave way back. When you look at the Western Church has been in decline for the last 7 decades, yet Christianity globally has been on the increase. So what that tells me is that we've been operating under a failed discipleship model. So we actually need to go back. I'm saying it's a new wineskin, but I believe it's an old wine too that God actually implemented right in the early church. So what we're I'll say it this way. I've been sort of hanging out a bit at the wedding feast, when Jesus turns water into wine.
Mm.
And the servants that are on the front line, this is a friend of mine said this to me recently. The servants that are on the front line were the first to realize that they'd run out of wine. And I think we're in a bit of that position. Those on the front line are going, something's not quite right. For me, this came through as like a divine dissatisfaction,
Mm.
and just something needs to give, something needs to change. And but then you go on through that event, and when the banquet master receives the wine from Jesus, he says, "You've saved the best wine till last." That's what I believe God's doing through DMM at the moment. It's a new thing, but it's an old thing, and it's the best till last thing. So
Mm.
essentially, what we're doing is it's based around small groups. Small groups are getting together and looking to disciple one another. We use something called a discovery Bible study, which is just a real. But when we're looking for disciples, we're looking for disciples that are going to make disciples that are going to make disciples. This was Jesus's methodology, and you see this throughout the New Testament. Um, and so for that replication to take place, it needs simplicity. And you need to be able to model what you want replicated. So there's some real key principles in there. Um, but essentially it's raising up disciples that make disciples, and it's based around the word. But we refrain from teaching in these particular meetings and just try and provide a place of discovery where the Lord by His Spirit can reveal something to an individual through the word.
Mm. Hanging out together is what I'm hearing. Spending time with other
Right, that's it.
people, and I think
Totally.
in our individualistic society, and look, it's a very busy one as well. We sometimes neglect that that one-on-one time with people. And it's so important when it comes to our faith and nurturing one another with our faith as well. Talking about discipleship and the nurturing of the community through that, are you seeing new believers, people coming to faith in that part of the country?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, for me, when we first started this, we had these groups and they were starting to multiply, which was awesome. But we found an interesting phenomenon of what we've called group hoppers, which you've heard of church hoppers, or these are group hoppers.
Yeah,
So
let's hear
our
this.
sort of our sort of statistics weren't quite right because you'd have the same people in each group, and we knew that's not good. So we needed another sort of criteria to look out for, making sure that we're seeing the beginnings of movement. That this isn't just the same group.
Yes, going from group to group. I love
times
it.
a week. And so social change was really a key criteria for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen it, locally. We're seeing people who have had addiction issues coming to Christ, coming to these groups, and not falling back, but actually moving forward. Making that progression because they're walking alongside someone. I feel that our thinking of discipleship is that we've gone from a position of transformation in someone's life through into discipleship. Whereas actually this way says that, no, we start walking alongside someone, we enter into that journey with them, and at some point they'll make a profession of faith and undergo this transformation, and then we just continue to walk alongside them. So it's a journey, and it's relational. So we're seeing some of the biggest drug users, biggest drug dealers in our local environment have come to the Lord and been baptized, and they're bold. They're so bold about their faith in Jesus. It's exciting.
We're going from darkness to light, right? And there's so much hope in that, honestly. Hearing that gives me so much hope. Sam, you are from the Paparoa Community Church. If people would love to pray for your part of the country, they're listening in today and going, you know what, this is exciting. Let it grow. Let it grow, within Paparoa, but also beyond. What are some things that people can be praying for you guys?
Absolutely. I think actually, interesting you ask it that way, because the multiplication of prayer, I think, is where it all starts.
Mm-hmm.
It's where it started with us. As a testimony that we heard about a lady who had gone over to Africa, and she was very restricted in what she could do. She was in northern Uganda, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so all she did was pray and multiplied prayer and started a national day of harvest, prayer for the harvest. And so that's something we've done. So we have the multiplication of prayer is actually one of our prayer points. We've also got a national day of prayer for the harvest coming up on the 10th of April.
Okay.
And we want that to be nationwide. So we're meeting at the cardinal points of New Zealand and just praying, trying to just saturate the country in prayer. So that would be number one, is the multiplication of prayer. A second prayer point would be the multiplication of discipleship. And for people to really get a hold of this DNA of just modeling things simply. I wonder if we've overcomplicated the gathering somewhat. If we can get back to that simple, just coming together, spending time with one another, spending time with the Lord. That's our second point, is the multiplication of prayer. And we've begun a website to try and just promote these principles of the DMM movement, which is disciplemakingmovement.com.
Okay.
So people can find more information on there. That's a work in progress, but we've recorded a few training videos on there. So just really pray that the Lord will use these things for His glory, really, and to see this become movement. I believe we're seeing the beginnings of movement, but I don't think we're seeing movement in all its potential. What we're seeing is momentum being gathered. But so again, prayer for that momentum and for an increase, and that social change that we so desperately need will come through this.
Through social change, lives get better, don't they? And that's what we want to see. We want to see that here in New Zealand. I love this, Sam, and I'm going to just repeat that website address if people are keen to find out more. That is disciplemakingmovement.com. That day of prayer happening on the 10th of April as well. So that's coming up very soon. Sam, thank you for being a part of today's show today, and just giving us a lot of hope that things are happening across the country.
So, and I thank you so much for having me on here. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on Rhema. Now, if you found value in today's content, hit that like button. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to our channel with the subscribe button. This really helps us to continue to produce more quality content for you. And hey, if you'd like to stay updated and never miss any of our future videos, ring that notification bell as well. Don't forget to follow us on our other socials, which are in the description below. And until then, stay tuned.